Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Reacts. A few days ago, I sat down and watched Justice Society World War II for my Patreon, and oh my gosh, I freaking love this film. If you guys want to go see my reaction, link in the description will take you to my Patreon. Go check it out if you're interested. I was blown away by this movie, and I want to sit here and talk about it. Now, for the first couple minutes, I'm actually going to just talk just in general about the film, but I want to get to some specifics, some spoilers. So in the pinned comment of this video, in the description, I will timestamp the actual time when I start talking spoilers, so you guys are not spoiled in case you haven't seen the film yet. But oh my gosh, this film is so good. So let's get into some just overview of some of the things about this film. To start off this review, discussion, whatever you want to call it, I love the story here. I love the fact that it's about choices and the consequences your choices make. And I think that that really resonated throughout the whole film. And it wasn't just one aspect or one choice that altered and affected the story here. It was multiple things that were going on throughout the film. These certain choices, these certain things that characters were doing. It causes a ripple effect. It causes something to happen or to not happen. I was deeply invested, and I love the fact that this film was emotional. The action is fantastic. Seeing Wonder Woman mow down Nazis like they were nothing was freaking fantastic. Of course it was. I did see some similarities to 2017's Wonder Woman, of course, featuring Gal Gadot during World War I when she was fighting all of those soldiers. I saw some similarities there in terms of certain things they were doing within this animation versus what Gal Gadot did in the live action. But there was enough changes and enough things that were different that I was like, I can appreciate the hell out of this, because it just in general, Wonder Woman kicking major ass is just awesome to see. And to see the rest of these classic heroes. Black Canary has a lot to do in this film, and I love when she yells. I mean, it's so well done, the action in terms of her. Jay Garrick, oh my gosh, I think they handled Jay Garrick so well in this film. And seeing Our Man kicking ass as we know he does, but I like the fact they refer back to the fact it's only an hour. So they have to be strategic on how they handle certain missions, how they go about it, because even himself, he says, I'm not as useful as I can be on the field and out there doing missions, because once my hour's up, that's it, essentially, on certain aspects of what I can do for this team. I think the story with just the JSA members would have been a great film, but I like the fact they throw in a wrench into all this, with someone from the future, that of course being Barry Allen. And the fact is, we have Jay Garrick in the mix as well, so that really ties into some Speed Force and questioning everything about, is this going to affect the timeline? I like all those aspects being brought into the mix, because I'm always a fan of time travel stories. But Barry being there changes a lot of things, and they're questioning, is he supposed to be here in the first place? Is he actually supposed to be here, or is this a major flub? And they're asking all these questions, and it's crazy to think that these members of the JSA have to now ask this question, because before everything was just fine, they're being secretive, but with this, it's like they're questioning everything at this point. Like, what does this all mean for them and for Barry being there? And I like how it really just ties into the whole story of how Barry being there greatly affects everything moving forward, and it's interesting to see, because I wonder would all of this went down if Barry wasn't there at all. Before we get into spoilers, I do want to say this again. I love the story they told here. I like the fact that there was a lot of emotion, there was drama, there were some funny moments, and I like how they handled all these different characters and how they all work together in a sense, and of course, Future Boy, as they called him, the Flash, being there, and how it just changes pretty much everything. I forgot to mention Hawkman, which wasn't really intentional, because there's something specific in the spoilers I do want to talk about him, but I just really enjoyed this film, and if you are a DC fan and you haven't seen this film yet, go watch it now. Let's get into spoilers. Spoiler time, you have been warned. I was blown away by two major things in this film, and there's some other things as well, but two major things that does so much for the continuation of these animated films that DC are doing. The two things are this. Number one, this film is directly connected to Superman, Man of Tomorrow. Another reaction on my Patreon. Go check it out if you haven't already. I really enjoyed watching that film. The animation definitely was different. It had to take some time to get used to it, but I overall enjoyed what they were doing with that film. And this film opens and ends within that continuity to really establish this is directly connected to Superman, Man of Tomorrow, because there's Brainiac. Superman and Barry Allen, the Flash, fight Brainiac, and it's because Brainiac shoots a kryptonite bullet at Superman, fires it at him, that Barry runs so fast that he travels back in time. But not back in time, he travels to another Earth. The second big reveal is that this is on Earth 2, which isn't as surprising, because Earth 2 is generally known, of course, as JSA, which, of course, within the new multiverse they have created within the Arrowverse, Stargirl, which is, of course, JSA-centric, is taking place on Earth 2, so this isn't that surprising, but the fact is Barry did not just travel back in time, he traveled to another Earth entirely by mistake. And I like that how this film kind of unfolds, and Barry learning about this team and the JSA has him at the end of this film telling Superman, saying, we need to build some sort of team, some sort of group, something, setting up, of course, the Justice League. And this really ties into, of course, how they're creating a new universe, because Superman Man of Tomorrow wasn't really saying there's a new universe out there, but this film is implying, yes, there is, and there's also a multiverse out there, of course, with Earth 2, with the Justice Society of World War II taking place mostly on Earth 2. So that's very interesting and very exciting. So that was really interesting to me, because I wasn't sure what they were going to be doing, because there was a lot of talk about they're not going to be doing another shared universe in a sense of films, because of course New 52 ended a couple years ago with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. Spoiler if you haven't seen that film, so spoilers in case you haven't seen it, but I will say this because it directly ties into all this. At the very end of the film, Barry Allen travels so fast he creates a new timeline, and this seems to be the new timeline that he has created. Of course, the Barry Allen we've seen, as far as of right now, he does not know or anything of the past timeline that was happening that ended, of course, in New 52 run with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. But this seems like this is the new timeline he created when everything was reset. So that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. More spoilers. I think at this point, if you're still watching this video, you've already seen the film. You just want to hear me discuss spoilers. So we have two major deaths in this film. And I think one is impactful in a sense of the team losing a member, but I think another one's way more impactful because it directly impacts Wonder Woman, which of course is a main character in this film. Like, she's one of the main leads of the whole entire film, but also the fact that it really ties into kind of what Barry has to deal with, of course, with Iris before everything happened at the beginning of the film. I just think it just directly ties in beautifully. So with Hawkman's death, I kind of saw it coming based on Dr. Fate kind of implying you're going to see your beloved soon, aka Hawk Girl, and he dies. Now, he's been reincarnated before, but he dies. Okay, so that wasn't as big of a surprise, but it really caused Black Canary to really go insane in a sense. Not to the point where she's like killing everybody, but she goes after the creature that kills Hawkman, and it was a brutal death for that creature. But man, she let it all out, and it knocked her out because she put out so much energy, so much scream, so much emotion in that. It was so well done, in my opinion. It was so, so good. But Steve Trevor's death hits so much harder for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is told throughout the story he proposes every single day to Diana and calls her princess and all this kind of stuff. He's in love with her and she's in love with him, but he proposes every day, and she has said, I will say yes when the time is right. And she says no every single time until he is dying. She says yes because he says, will you grant a dying man his last wish, or something along the lines of that. It was brutal. She says yes. He tries to put the ring on her finger, and he dies trying. He doesn't even succeed. He doesn't successfully put the ring on her finger. It's brutal. I was thinking maybe she was going to wear it, but instead she gives it to Barry, because at the beginning of this film, if you've seen it, of course you've probably seen it at this point. If you're watching this, you've already seen where Iris is upset the fact that Barry keeps her hidden. He doesn't reveal who he's with. And she feels like that she's not good enough, and she's like, or along the lines of where she just doesn't want to do this anymore, and she says, break up with me, Barry Allen, just go for it. Because he is not appreciative of what she's doing, because it's implied and it's said that, you know, he's kept her a secret, and she doesn't want that. She's like, life is dangerous. She knows who he is. She knows he's the Flash, but she's tired of being hidden and not being, you know, shown as being with him. So she's tired of it. So Wonder Woman gives the ring that Steve was going to give to her. She gives it to Barry, saying, do not make the same mistake I did. Do not allow this to happen. So Barry goes back, and he proposes to Iris, and she says yes. I was kind of hopeful that she would wear the ring, and she would actually wear it in honor of Steve, but at the same time, I think it would have been a brutal reminder of her decision of saying no all those times, because what I was saying in the beginning about how the story is about consequences and your choices, she chose to say no. And Steve said while he was dying, we have no guarantee of tomorrow. Something along the lines of that. I'm not 100% sure on the wording, but there's no guarantee of tomorrow. We only have today. So essentially, I think it would be too much of a guilt for her every single time she looked at her ring to know I said no all those times, and I said yes when he was dying, and he couldn't even put it on my finger. So maybe that's why she chose not to wear it. It's a brutal film in that sense, because it's really heartbreaking. Really heartbreaking. Another spoiler I do want to talk about real quick is Shakespeare in the timeline of Justice Society within Earth 2. Shakespeare is actually Superman. He's pretending to be a part of the regime, essentially, to go against the Nazis, but he's a reporter, just like Clark Kent is, and his name is Clark Kent on this Earth. And at the end of the film, he decides to put on the Superman suit that he has, which I think is a little bit different than the Superman Man of Tomorrow. I could be wrong, but it looked a little bit different. Like the S looked a little bit different on his chest. But he actually joins the fight at the end, so it's implied that he, I guess, maybe joins the JSA at the end of the film. It's not really 100% confirmed that he does on Earth 2, but I like that reveal that we have this character named Shakespeare that is a reporter, just like Clark is, and of course his name's Clark, but that's his name on the field is Shakespeare, but he is actually Superman. I didn't see it, and I was like, whoa, that's a big surprise. Definitely surprising for sure. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. It's definitely worth the watch if you haven't seen it. I knew I was going to like it, but I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did because it was so, in my opinion, well done in terms of really pulling at the heartstrings, beautiful, beautiful action at times, and just overall a great sense of expanding this new continuity of animated films. And I'm hoping that we see another Earth 2 type film with these characters. I would like to see another film. It doesn't mean we have to have Barry show up again, but just have a story with these characters. Maybe some new members in the mix. Maybe a couple years have passed and we have new members joining the JSA on Earth 2, and we get to see another film in the continuity. That's just my opinion, but I don't know. We'll see. So there you have it, guys. That is my review, my discussion on spoilers of Justice Society World War II. What did you guys think of the film? I'm curious to know your thoughts. Whatever thoughts you have, let me know in the comment section below, guys. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.